Morbidly Curious, a tale in the anthology of When in Mesmoralia. Part 1, the tour begins. The advertisement appeared on posters throughout Mesmoralia, printed on paper that smelled like graveyard dirt and tasted like regret if you were foolish enough to lick it. Soul Searching, a guided tour. Descend into the underneath. Witness the separation of body and soul. See where lost souls congregate. Experience the architecture of guilt. Tours depart every twilight. No refunds, no exceptions, no guarantees of return. The tour guide's name was Oleander Twist, the same man who existed at multiple ages simultaneously in the Sealing District, though down here in regular Mesmoralia, he'd settled on appearing roughly 45, with eyes that had seen too much and a smile that had forgotten how to mean anything. "Welcome," he said to the gathered group of 12 people standing outside the entrance to the underneath. "Welcome to the Soul Searching Tour. I'm required by Mesmoralia's Bureau of Existential Tourism to inform you that this tour is rated extremely hazardous to your sense of self. Proceed at your own risk." The 12 people tourists really, though they'd never admit it, shifted nervously. They'd come to Mesmoralia specifically for this, had heard rumors, had read accounts, had wanted to see what it was really like, this city where souls could separate from bodies. "Why are you here?" Oleander asked, pointing to a woman in the front. She was young, maybe 25, wearing clothes that marked her as definitely not from Mesmoralia. Too colorful, too hopeful. "I'm a psychology student," she said, "researching dissociative disorders. I thought seeing actual soul-body separation might help my thesis." Oleander's smile widened. "Ah, the academically curious. You'll be the first to get lost." He pointed to a man in the back. "You, just interested," the man mumbled. "Heard about it online. Thought I'd check it out." "The casually curious. You'll be second." Oleander consulted a list he'd pulled from his pocket. The paper was blank, but he read from it anyway. "Let's see. We've got 2 academically curious, 3 casually curious, 1 grieving widow looking for her dead husband's soul, 4 thrill seekers who think this is like a haunted house tour, and 2 people who won't admit why they're really here." He looked directly at a middle-aged woman who flinched. "The secret keepers are always the most fun to watch get lost," Oleander said cheerfully. "Shall we begin?" Part 2, the first descent. The underneath was accessed through a door behind the drowning pearl that shouldn't exist when you looked directly at it. It was just a wall. But if you looked slightly to the left and walked forward with purpose, the wall became permeable. The 12 tourists followed Oleander through. The psychology student, her name was Rebecca, gasped as they entered. The underneath wasn't like the rest of Mesmoralia. It was more raw, less finished, like the city's infrastructure before cosmetics were applied. Pipes ran along walls made of compressed regret. The floor was paved with broken promises. The ceiling dripped with something that might have been water, but smelled like tears. First stop, Oleander announced, is the collection chamber. This is where soul brokers like Magdalene store the souls they've captured. Please keep your hands to yourselves. The souls can't hurt you, but they can attach to you, and extraction is expensive. The chamber was vast, a warehouse of shelving units, each holding hundreds of bottles and jars and boxes. And inside each container, light, pulsing, shifting, desperately aware light. Rebecca approached one bottle. Inside, a soul pressed against the glass, forming a face, a hand, trying to communicate. "What's it saying?" she asked. "It's begging to be released," Oleander said. "They all do, at first. Eventually, they get used to captivity, start to prefer it, even. At least in the bottles, they know where they are. Freedom is so much more uncertain." A thrill seeker, a man named Marcus, laughed. "This is wild. How long have some of these been in here? Centuries, millennia. Mesmoralia's been collecting souls since before it had a name." Oleander gestured to a far shelf. "Those over there are from before written language. We're not sure what sins they committed, just that they committed them enthusiastically enough that their souls couldn't stay attached." Rebecca was writing furiously in a notebook. "And the brokers, they sell these back to their original bodies. Sometimes, if the body wants it back, if the body can afford it, if the soul hasn't been damaged by captivity." Oleander picked up a jar containing a soul that barely glowed anymore. "This one's been in here so long it's forgotten what it's like to have a body. If we put it back now, it would just scream and scream and scream until it broke." "That's horrible," Rebecca whispered. "That's tourism," Oleander said. "You wanted to see soul-body separation. This is what it looks like. Moving on. Part 3, the separation chamber. The second stop was deeper in the underneath, down a spiral staircase that seemed to descend for miles. The grieving widow, Martha, was her name, asked if they were going to see where souls left their bodies. "Better," Oleander said. "We're going to watch it happen." The separation chamber was a circular room with an operating theater set up. In the center, strapped to a table, was a man who was very clearly still souled. His eyes were full, human, terrified. "What's happening to him?" Marcus asked. "Voluntary separation," Oleander explained. "He's paying to have his soul removed. Some people do this. They've committed sins they can't bear to carry, and they want the numbness, the relief. So soul brokers will extract the soul for a fee. A woman in surgical robes, one of Magdalene's competitors, entered the chamber. She placed her hands on the man's chest. "Watch carefully," Oleander instructed. "You'll see the moment it happens." The surgeon began to pull. Not physically, her hands didn't move, but something came away from the man's body. A shimmer, a distortion in the air that slowly took on light and shape. The man on the table screamed. The soul screamed louder, both of them screaming as the connection broke, as the tissue between spirit and flesh tore. the point. Rebecca was crying. That's torture. That's barbaric. That's what he paid for, Oleander said. That's what he wanted. The soul didn't want to leave, you heard it screaming. But the body insisted. Chose numbness over feeling. Chose function over humanity. Who are we to judge? One of the secret keepers, a woman named Diane, spoke up for the first time. Can it be reversed? Sometimes, if the soul consents, if the body can handle the reunion, if the cost is paid. Oleander smiled his empty smile. Why are you thinking about it? About separating from your own soul? No, Diane said too quickly. Ah, Oleander said. Then you're thinking about someone who already has. Moving on. Part 4, The Lost Ones. They descended further. The stairs became irregular. The walls began to breathe. Reality got soupy, uncertain, like they were walking through a photograph that hadn't quite developed. Where are we going? One of the casually curious asked. To see the ones who didn't make it back, Oleander said. Back from what? From the tour. He said it so casually that it took a moment for the implication to sink in. Wait, Rebecca said. You mean people get lost on this tour? Oh yes, happens all the time. That's why there's a waiver. Oleander pulled out a document. You all signed it. No guarantees of return. It's right there in the fine print. Marcus laughed nervously. You're joking. I never joke, Oleander said. I don't remember how. Lost that capacity somewhere around my 4th century in Mesmoralia. Now look, there's one. He pointed. At first, Rebecca thought it was a statue. A figure standing perfectly still in an alcove, facing the wall. But then it moved just slightly. A tremor. A breath. That's Jeremy, Oleander said. Took the tour 6 months ago. Got separated from the group in the Guild archives. Couldn't find his way back. Now he just stands there, watching the wall. What's he watching? Marcus asked. His own sins, projected from his soul onto the wall. The underneath does that sometimes, makes you witness yourself. Jeremy couldn't handle it, couldn't look away. Been there ever since. We have to help him, Rebecca said. Be my guest. Rebecca approached Jeremy, touched his shoulder. Jeremy, can you hear me? Jeremy didn't respond. His eyes were locked on the wall, where nothing visible played. But tears ran down his face in continuous streams. Jeremy, we can help you. Come with us. He can't, Oleander said. He's too far gone. The underneath has him now. He's part of the architecture. That's not possible, Rebecca insisted. You're in Mesmoralia, Oleander said. Everything is possible. Most of it is terrible. Moving on. Part 5, The Morbidly Curious. They found more lost tourists as they descended. A woman named Patricia, who'd taken the tour 2 years ago. She was stuck in a loop, endlessly walking the same 3-foot section of corridor, muttering, I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it. A man named Frederick who'd become transparent. You could see through him to the wall behind. He was fatting, Soon, he'd be completely gone. Just a memory of someone who'd been curious about souls and gotten too close. An entire group of thrill seekers from last month. 7 of them, huddled in a corner, all of them wearing the same expression of absolute horror. They'd seen something in the soul archives that had broken them. Now, they just sat there, occasionally whimpering. What did they see? Marcus asked. Themselves, Oleander said. The souls they would have if they'd ever done anything worth losing a soul over. The potential for evil in every human heart. Most people can't handle seeing that. Diane was getting agitated. How do we know we won't end up like them? You don't, Oleander said cheerfully. That's the whole point. That's why it's called soul searching. You're searching for your limit. The point where curiosity becomes catastrophe. Some people find it. Some people become it. I want to leave, Rebecca said. I want to go back up. Of course, this way. Oleander led them down another corridor. Then another. Then another. The path didn't match. They weren't going up. They were going deeper. This isn't the way back, Marcus said. Isn't it? Oleander smiled. Are you sure? The underneath rearranges itself. What was the exit 5 minutes ago might be a dead end now. What was a wall might be a passage. Geography is fluid here. You're the guide, Rebecca said, voice rising. You're supposed to know the way out. I do know the way out. Oleander stopped walking. For me, but I've taken this tour 1,000 times. I know the underneath's moods, its patterns, its little jokes. You're new. The underneath doesn't know you yet, and it's curious. About what? About what will break you. About where you'll end up. About which of you will make it back, and which of you will become part of the permanent collection. Part 6, the sorting. It happened gradually. First, one of the casually curious, a young man named David, just stopped following the group. Stood in the middle of a corridor, staring at nothing. David, his friend called. Come on, man. David didn't respond. His eyes had gone distant, empty. He's heard something, Oleander observed. The underneath is calling to him, showing him something. He'll either follow it or resist it. Let's see which. David followed it. Walked through a wall that shouldn't have been permeable and disappeared. One down, Oleander said. You're not going to stop him, Rebecca shouted. Stop him from what? He chose to follow. I can't make that choice for him. Then Martha, the grieving widow, started hearing her dead husband's voice. Started following it down a side passage, calling his name, desperate and convinced he was just around the next corner. Martha, wait. Rebecca tried to grab her, but Martha was stronger than she looked. Stronger than grief should make someone. She vanished into the darkness. 2 down, Oleander counted. The remaining tourists started to panic, tried to run, but the underneath didn't allow running. When you tried to move fast, the corridors stretched. The faster you ran, the longer the distances became. One of the thrill seekers, a woman named Sarah, ran until she collapsed from exhaustion. When the group She ran from herself, Oleander said. The underneath showed her who she really was, and she tried to escape it. But you can't outrun your own soul. The attempt just breaks you. 3 down. Part 7, The Choice. Eventually, only 5 remained. Rebecca, Marcus, Diane, and the 2 secret keepers who still hadn't revealed why they'd come. Oleander led them to a chamber with 3 doors. "Congratulations," he said. "You've made it to the choice point. This is where the tour traditionally ends. Behind each door is a different path. One leads back to Mesmoralia's surface. One leads deeper into the underneath, to places I'm not authorized to show you. One leads to where your soul would go if it left your body right now." "How do we know which is which?" Rebecca asked. "You don't, you choose. That's the point of the whole tour, to learn whether you can choose correctly when the stakes are existential." Diane stepped forward. "I know why I'm here," she said quietly. "I came because I already lost my soul 3 months ago. I committed adultery, and my soul left, and I've been hollow ever since. I thought if I took this tour, if I saw where souls go, maybe I could find mine." "And?" Oleander asked. "I saw it in the collection chamber, in a jar on the 3rd shelf. I recognized it." She was crying, or trying to. The tears came, but no emotion behind them. It looked so small, so sad, so desperate to come home. "So why didn't you take it?" "Because I'm terrified of what happens if I do. Of feeling everything I've done. Of carrying that guilt." She looked at the doors. Which door leads to forgetting? To staying hollow forever? Oleander pointed to the left door. "That one, probably. The underneath changes its mind." Diane walked through it, without hesitation. 4 down. One of the secret keepers, a man in his 60s, spoke next. "I came because my son took this tour 2 years ago and never came back. I thought I could find him." "Did you?" Oleander asked. "Yes, he's one of the transparent ones, fatting. He looked right through me, didn't recognize me." The man's voice broke. "My son is gone. Even if I could bring his body back, he wouldn't be in it anymore. So which door will you choose?" "The one that leads to him. I'm not leaving without my boy." He pointed to the middle door. "That one leads deeper, doesn't it? To where the lost ones go when they fade completely." "Yes." "Then that's my door." He walked through. 5 down. Part 8, The Survivors. Only Rebecca, Marcus, and the 2nd secret keeper remained. "I just wanted to see," Marcus said, his voice small. "I didn't think it was real. I thought it was just like metaphor, performance art. I didn't think people actually lost their souls. But they do," Oleander said. "And you've seen it, so which door?" "The one that leads out. I want to leave. I want to go home and forget I was ever here. That's the right door, probably." Oleander pointed to the right, or maybe the left. I forget which. The underneath likes to test certainty. Marcus stared at the doors, paralyzed by indecision. "What if I pick wrong? Then you don't make it back. Then you become one of the permanent collection. Then future tour will point at you and say, "That's Marcus. He took the tour and couldn't choose." Marcus started crying. I can't choose. What if I'm wrong?" "Then you'll be wrong," Oleander said. "That's allowed." But Marcus couldn't move. Stood frozen between the doors, equally terrified of all of them. Eventually, he just sat down. Right there, gave up. 6 down. Rebecca looked at the second secret keeper, a woman around 50, with kind eyes that had seen too much. "What about you?" Rebecca asked. "Why did you come?" "I'm a tour guide," the woman said. "In the regular world, before I came to Mesmoralia, I used to lead people through museums, historical sites, places of significance. I thought I understood guiding. Thought I understood what it meant to show people things they weren't ready to see. And I was wrong. I didn't understand it all, so I came here to learn." She looked at Oleander. "How long have you been doing this?" 400 years, give or take. "And how many people have made it back?" "Out of how many total?" "Let's say out of 100. Oleander thought. 3, maybe 4, if you count partial returns. "What's a partial return?" "Someone who makes it back to the surface, but leaves part of themselves down here. They walk around Mesmoralia, technically alive, technically functioning, but hollow in ways that have nothing to do with souls. Just incomplete." The woman nodded. "I thought so. I've seen them. The ones with that particular emptiness." She turned to Rebecca. "You should go. Take the right door. It leads up." "How do you know?" "Because I've been watching Oleander's eyes every time he talks about the doors. He looks right when he talks about escape. It's involuntary. He's trying not to help, but his body remembers kindness." Oleander's smile flickered. "Clever. So go," the woman said to Rebecca. "Go back to your psychology thesis. Write about this place. Warn people." "What about you?" Rebecca asked. "I'm staying. I'm going to learn how to be a real guide. The kind who understands that showing people the truth might destroy them, and does it anyway, because some truths are worth the cost." She looked at Oleander. "Will you teach me? It'll take centuries, and you'll lose pieces of yourself, and you'll watch hundreds of people get lost because you led them into the dark. I know, and you'll do it anyway." "Yes." Oleander smiled, and this time the smile reached his eyes. Just barely. Just enough to remember what genuine expression looked like. "Then welcome to the profession," he said. "Rebecca, you should go now, before the underneath changes its mind about which door is which." Part 9, The Return. Rebecca chose the right door. She climbed stairs that seemed to ascend forever, through layers of the underneath that got progressively lighter, less oppressive, more like regular reality. She emerged behind the drowning pearl 12 hours after she'd entered. The bartender looked at her with mild interest. "You made it back. That's unusual." "How unusual?" "Unusual enough that I should probably offer you a free drink. You look like you need it." Rebecca sat at the bar. 3 notebooks with observations, had documented everything, had the makings of a dissertation that would revolutionize psychology's understanding of dissociation. But her hands wouldn't stop shaking. What happens to the ones who don't make it back? She asked the bartender. They stay down there, become part of the underneath's permanent population. The lost ones, the stuck ones, the fatting ones. Eventually, they're not people anymore, just echoes, warnings, exhibits on future tour. And Oleander, how long has he been doing this? Forever, near as anyone can tell. He's part of the infrastructure now. Can't leave even if he wanted to. The underneath needs a guide, and he's fulfilled that function so long he's forgotten how to be anything else. Rebecca drank whatever the bartender poured her. It tasted like regret, but burned like truth. I saw things down there, she said. Terrible things. People broken by curiosity. Souls in bottles. Bodies without souls walking around like they're still alive. That's Mesmoralia, the bartender said. We're all broken by something. Curiosity is just one option. I need to write about this. Warn people. You can try, but the morbidly curious don't listen to warnings. They think they're different, think they're immune, think their curiosity is somehow more sophisticated than everyone else's. The bartender refilled her glass. That's why the tour keep running. Because there's always someone who thinks they can look at horror and walk away unchanged. Rebecca looked at her notebooks. Pages and pages of observations, diagrams, theories. And slowly, she began to tear out the pages. What are you doing? The bartender asked. Burning them, Rebecca said, moving to the fireplace. All of it, every observation, every note. Because if I publish this, if I turn it into a dissertation, I'll be just like Oleander. I'll be guiding people toward horror for the sake of knowledge. And I saw where that leads. She fed the pages to the fire, one by one. Sometimes, she said, watching her work burn, the most important thing you can learn is what not to share. Epilogue, the next tour. The next tour departed at twilight, as scheduled. 12 new people gathered outside the underneath's entrance. Curious, eager, convinced they were different from all the people who'd gotten lost before them. Oleander Twist stood before them, wearing his empty smile, and behind him, learning, watching, taking notes in a notebook that would never be published, the woman who'd chosen to stay. The one who decided that guiding people into darkness was worth the cost. Her name was Helen, and she'd been a museum guide before Mesmoralia. Now she was becoming something else. Welcome, Oleander said to the new group. Welcome to the soul-searching tour. I'm required by Mesmoralia's Bureau of Existential Tourism to inform you that this tour is rated extremely hazardous to your sense of self. Proceed at your own risk. The 12 people shifted nervously. Helen stepped forward. Before we begin, she said, her voice kind but firm, I need you to understand something. 7 out of 12 of you will not make it back. That's not a metaphor. its statistical reality. You will get lost. You will become part of the underneath. You will be exhibits on future tour. The group laughed nervously, thought she was joking. I'm not joking, Helen said. I'm telling you the truth because that's what real guides do. We don't lie. We don't minimize. We show you exactly what you're walking into and let you choose anyway. And yet, Oleander added, you'll still come. Because you're morbidly curious. Because you think you're immune. Because you can't imagine that the horror you're about to witness will be the horror of your own dissolution. One person left, smart one. The remaining 11 followed Oleander and Helen into the underneath, and somewhere deep below, in the collection chamber, in the corridors of lost tourists, in the places where curiosity curdles into catastrophe, David and Martha and Diane, and the father and Marcus, and all the others who'd gotten lost on previous tour. They waited, still watching, still processing, still serving as warnings that no one would heed. In Mesmoralia, curiosity doesn't kill the cat. It just transforms the cat into architecture, into exhibit, into cautionary tale that the next round of curious will ignore. The morbidly curious never learn. That's what makes them morbidly curious. And that's what makes them perfect fuel for a city that runs on people who wandered too far into questions they couldn't answer. The tour continue. The lost accumulate. And somewhere in the underneath, Oleander Twist leads another group deeper. Because that's his function. That's his purpose. That's what he's become after 400 years of guiding the curious into darkness. A warning no one will heed. A guide who can't stop guiding. A soul so lost in the underneath, it's forgotten it was ever anywhere else. The next tour departs at twilight. There are always 12 new people. There are always 7 who won't make it back. And the underneath is always hungry for more exhibits. Because what happens to the morbidly curious in Mesmoralia doesn't stay in Mesmoralia. It becomes Mesmoralia, forever